Questions?
So this question is related to seeing my real self, the awareness,
Okay.
and the one problem that I faced with it. The prime problem that I faced with it is if I use thoughts as a guiding principle to see my awareness,
Mm-hmm.
then it breaks because the moment I have thoughts, I have objects. And basically, there is an awareness that is basically observing these thoughts. So, to see the thought, I have to be like, I should not have any objects uh, to see my awareness or to, do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
But how can you do that? And is this
Well,
what
that's what it
people
means
say
by
when they
turning the light
say,
around. That's what it means. It means turning the light of attention away from the thoughts, away from the birds and the trees and the clouds, and back to the source of awareness itself, to awareness itself. How many
but it
thoughts are
is
there?
formless? You cannot define it because the moment you define it, you have thoughts, and then there is
You
that
don't,
awareness
no
that
one
is
said
watching those
define it.
thoughts.
We just said look at it.
But how can you look at it? You can't use thoughts
Okay,
or
let's try this.
anything.
Watch. So here's your attention normally. It's on
Yes.
thoughts, it's on perceptions, it's on sensations, memories, fantasies, whatever. So here's your attention. Now, there's a
Yes.
difference between attention and the object of attention, is there not?
Yeah. If we treat attention as a verb, then yeah, that should be an object of
Well,
attention.
how do you want to define attention? What is attention?
Yeah. If you are, it is a directed awareness, I would say, and if it is directed, then there should be some object or
Okay, all right.
objects.
So we're good.
Yes.
So here we have directed attention onto this, in this case, a pencil.
Yes.
Now, all I want to do is move the awareness around to the back. I'm going to turn the light around, the light of awareness, the light of attention. I'm going to turn that around. There's no pencils or thoughts back there. Just don't bring the thoughts and the objects back there with you. Just turn your attention around. That's all.
And that's what it is to see the awareness. Because you can't see the awareness at all. It's formless because you can't have any thoughts there when you turn around the right.
Correct. That's close enough. I'm not sure about see the awareness. Awareness is seen, inherently seen, but in a different manner, not necessarily visually.
So in a way, you can never talk about I, the awareness. Or
What do you mean?
no, I think I started thinking something else.
All right. Follow up or next question? Have you read
I think
Have you read those?
this,
Like it's just 8 pages in The Secret of the Golden Flower. Have you read those?
yes.
What part of that's giving you trouble? You think?
I think turning the light around, but by turning the light around, you mean to say whatever there is, like some awareness is uh, aware of the object. So now I need to look at the
No, there's no
awareness
some
itself.
awareness. There's only awareness. And so this is like, okay, you need to understand this is an introductory exercise. Later, you'll realize that there's no some awareness. Awareness is awareness. That's all there is. I mean, it's unitary. It's not fragmented. Like Krishnamurti talks about, how we must get beyond thought if we're not going to have fragmentary solutions and fragmentary thought and fragmentary models and fragmentary ways of looking at things. So awareness is not fragmented. It's the only thing in this universe that's not fragmented. In other words, made of pieces. Do you understand that? That's a very important point.
Yes. I think this is related to the dream conversations as well.
Okay, where
I think
where?
In the wrong approaches
Dream
section,
Conversation.
I believe.
A great book.
Yeah. I think it's wrong approaches, page 43.
Okay, wrong approaches. Sometimes people ask about Buddhism and are given the reply, who is it that's asking about Buddhism? Some people identify themselves based on their customary ideas and say that this self is, quote, who. There are also those who think the reply means they should wonder who they are. That's good. Then there are those who latch onto the saying, your own mind is Buddha, and then pose and gesture as their answer. Some people fix on the insubstantiability of the cognizing mind, the realm of detachment from all forms, and equate it with non-you statement. It would not be accurate to refer to it as something. Then their answer is that there's nothing above to reach up and no self below. Then again, there are some who have the notion that all questions and answers are extraneous and who dismiss the whole thing with a shout. Some think the meaning of Zen is a state that has nothing to do with any of these assessments and immediately leave when questioned. None of these approaches lead to great enlightenment. Okay, good. All right, this is beautiful. Thank you. What's your question?
So I believe I am stuck in some people fix on the insubstantiality of the cognizing mind paragraph.
Okay. Some people fix on the insubstantiality of the cognizing mind, the realm of detachment from all forms, and equate it with non-use statement. What's non-use statement?
It would not be accurate to refer to it as something.
Okay. It would not be accurate to... Perfect.
Then their answer is that there is nothing above to reach up to and no self below. So I believe I'm stuck here and how to go ahead.
So you don't think there's anything above to reach up to and no self below. You really think there's nothing to reach up to? He's describing mistakes in attitude that people have. This is a beautiful book because it talks about the attitude that people have that is counterproductive, and it's subtle. So you're saying, oh, there's nothing to reach up to, and there's no self below. So you're saying there's no self.
I think I'm just saying that it is like we were discussing earlier, like it would not be accurate to refer to it as something because it's formless. And when you turn around the light, there are no objects and thoughts.
Okay, so it's formless.
When you look at the awareness. But how to go ahead,
You're not in this situation because you're not denying that there's something above to reach up to. And you're not denying there's... So it hinges on this. Then their answer is that there's nothing up above to reach up to. Are you saying you're enlightened? And you understand it all?
No.
Well, that's what this guy's doing. He's saying there's nothing above to reach up to.
But this implies there is something above to reach up to.
There is something above to reach up to, enlightenment. I mean, above, of course, is just a manner of speaking.
And no self below denotes that state.
Well, these guys are just being, they're it's called, remember those It's very hard to articulate. That's why these Zen guys are so great. But they talked about the mistakes. Let me think about this. Okay, let me forget the Zen and I'll just speak for myself. Okay. Or, yeah, I'll speak by myself. People sometimes will develop mental rationalizations in order to avoid the work. So they just say, well, I understand this principle. It's not something, right? And so if there's no something, then I got it, right? And then they go off and they start teaching, or they think, okay, I've arrived, or something like that. And there's much more to it than that. So it's like a premature penetration. But this isn't even penetration. They have an intellectual understanding, and they think they understand. And this is very important, because this understanding ultimately comes down to experience. Okay, and the reason sages have been saying what they've been saying for as long as they have is because they have direct experience with this. And the direct experience contradicts what you would normally think to be true. Like there's limitations to you, or to your awareness, or to your power to understand, or your creative power, or anything like that. That you're limited in any way in this universe. It's very difficult you can't understand it in the current mindset. But when you awaken, you realize that it's true. And people have been saying the same thing for what? 6,000 years, 5,000 years? In every culture, in every tradition, there's always a few, right? But the secret kind of protects itself. So that's really the problem. So we have one group of people who say, we have no idea what consciousness is. We have no idea about it. We don't know where in the brain it resides. We don't know anything about it. We don't know whether a machine is conscious or not, right? And then you have other people say, yeah, well, we know what consciousness is. We've been studying it very hard for, centuries, millennia. And so, but the problem is, it's only a first-person experience. And all of this is first person. A scientist cannot study synchronicity, for example. That's a first-person experience. So what we're talking about is a moving. Okay, so the way we typically, with rational brains, the way we look at the world is we go, okay, you and I need to have come to a conclusion about this. It's kind of like second and third person perspective. But now you're being asked to do something totally different, which is to examine your own personal perspective. Now, when you get to that awareness, you find that there's no objects there. Good. That's exactly correct. But this doesn't really apply to you, frankly. This is a false diagnosis.
Okay.
Because it does exist. Even though it does not exist, it does exist. And that's the hard thing to communicate. It exists much more than it does not exist. But to the human, it appears sometimes as if it exists. It both exists. Not one, not two. That's how the Zen people put it. It's both something and not something. And the closest we might have to this now that I think about it, is Schrodinger's cat, right?
Yes.
It's dead, but it's alive. That's a very crude example. I may regret using it. But the point is that things can exist in ways very different than what you've imagined thus far. So in Zen, there's a famous Zen koan. The master holds up a stick. He says, if you call this a stick, you affirm it. If you call it a stick, if you call it not a stick, you negate it. What is it?
It is. That's it. Any labels would make it a conceptual thing. It is
Correct.
what it is.
Right, but listen to this. Now what is it?
It is something that is used to
Ring a bell.
ring a bell. But again, that's just labeling things as such.
Okay.
If you forget
All right. So you're
about
getting
those
closer.
things.
You're getting closer. But this understanding, this is good. This is very good, because this is, I think, the appropriate level for you. That diagnosis doesn't apply to you, right? But this problem that you've described, the one about when you turn, you're not using thoughts to look at thoughts. At any rate, a thought can't look at anything, can it? A concept can't look at anything.
No, it can analyze things from things in the past or whatever it is seeing right now, not seeing right now.
Okay, can you have a thought without awareness of the thought?
That's a good question.
No, think it out, think it out. Can there be thought without awareness? I'm talking about your thought right now in the present. Can you have a thought without awareness of that thought?
But why would that matter if I'm not aware?
We're going to go somewhere with this. Can you have a thought without awareness?
Could be.
It's not a thought. A thought is something that's consciously in your mind, no? Because we can't call the little movement of mitochondrial impulses in little glial cells, we can't call those thoughts, right?
Yeah.
So can you have a thought without awareness of that thought?
No, it wouldn't make sense.
Now, can you have awareness without thought?
Yes.
Absolutely. So, which is primary, if that's the case? You can have a thought you can't have a thought without awareness, but you can have awareness without thought. So which one is primary?
Awareness.
Exactly. So now what you're going to do is take your attention, not the concept of attention, your actual attention, and turn it around back here and see how many thoughts there are. There's many Zen stories about this, and maybe we can close with that. Somebody comes to a Zen master and he's looking for help. And the Zen master says, well, where are you from? And he says, well, I'm just going to make it up. He says, well, I'm from New Jersey. And he goes, do you think of New Jersey often? And he says, yeah, I do. And he says, well, when you think of New Jersey, are there buildings and streets and cars? And he goes, yes, there are. And then he asks him something to the effect that, now turn your attention to what is aware of those buildings and cars and streets, etc. Turn the light around. Are there buildings and cars? Are there many things there? Are there the myriad things there, right? So there's no objects there. So that's the point. So you're actually getting closer. This is good. So we've demonstrated that awareness is primary to thought. That thought depends on awareness, but awareness does not depend on thought. Neither do perceptions. It doesn't depend on perceptions, and it doesn't depend on sensations. So now we have something that's the substrate. Okay? All right, sir. Anything else before we stop?
One question regarding the studying intent section of the dream conversations. I believe it's page 27.
Page 27.
Yeah.
All right, which one?
Studying intent.
Okay, studying intent. The method of studying intent is to lay aside all intellectual understanding and emotional assessment and look at a saying or story directly. This is good. The method of studying intent is to lay aside all intellectual understanding and emotional assessment and look at a saying or story directly. Even if you are reading records of ancient sayings or listening to a teacher lecture, if you forget what is on your mind and open up, not producing rationalizations of what you are reading or hearing, this is studying the intent. Yeah.
My question here is, how can you study without rationalizations?
Give me an example of something that you rationalize.
Uh,
How can you study with them is what I want to know. But
Maybe like, I guess, I don't know why this is coming to my mind, but the pressure, like there is a pipe, a vertical pipe,
mhm.
and someone's pushing in water from above, and you need to calculate the pressure. So there you need to rationalize and use some theorems to get at a solution about what the pressure value would be, right?
I think we're using the
Like,
word rationalize differently. What does rationalize mean to you?
rationalize would mean studying some phenomena and trying to use some of the already used theorems or try to come up with a new theory
Okay, no.
to,
So you're focusing on the word rational in the word rationalize.
yeah,
Rationalize. So let's say I'm reading an article in the newspaper. Pick a newspaper, the New Delhi Times. Okay,
okay,
and they're writing an article on Uber or something. Let's imagine there's Uber there,
okay,
and all I can say is negative, negative, negative stuff, right? And then you find
yeah,
out that
okay,
the brother of the guy who wrote the article is a guy who owns the taxi cabs, right? And
okay,
so as you read this, you're rationalizing, you're going, oh, the reason this guy wrote that is because he's just biased against anything that's going to compete with his
yeah,
brother's business. It's not necessarily rational, but it's rationalizing. There's a lot more to it. And so when we get off, look up the word and look it up in sentences. Like say, the fox and the grapes. Okay, so the fox couldn't get the grapes, correct? You know the story, the fox and the grapes?
uh, I may not have remembered it, but I can look it up. Yeah,
Well, basically, because he can't reach the grapes, the fox says, well, I never wanted them anyway. Rationalization is an ego defense mechanism also. So in other words, that's a big word.
is
It
it
doesn't just mean
backtracking something?
rational. It doesn't just mean rational as in scientific and mathematical.
So I was thinking a bit about this. Like sometimes you have some idea that
Hmm.
comes into your mind,
Okay.
and it's a non-conceptual idea. Like it comes into your mind in a non-conceptual way, and then the thoughts arise to make sense out of this.
Very
Is
good.
this what you mean by rationalization?
No, it's almost the opposite of rationalization. Or maybe, I mean,
Like
no, I should
backtracking?
take that back. It depends on how good the thought is, right?
Yeah.
So some amount of, but you try and minimize that as much as possible. Doris Lessing famously said that she didn't learn how to read until she was like 50. And I agree with her because typically when we read things, we're trying to get things out of it that we think are important or that we think we put our skew on it, or we try and second guess the author, or we do this or that. It's very difficult to
Yeah.
read what's really there, right? And part of what Zen koans are great for, they're not magical, mystical things. They're thinking instruments. Excuse me. And these are very fine tools, but just approach them, try and understand them. Sometimes it takes a while, but do that without rationalizing it away. Do you know what I'm saying? Something like that. I'm going to have to look into it some more, and let's look into this word rationalize. That's a good word because we rationalize all the
So
time. That's a feature of the human mind, as any
so you were
psychiatrist will tell
saying
you.
that.
Okay,
So
sir.
you were saying that ones are a bit immune to conditioning of your mind
I'm
because
sorry.
that's
What?
what,
What?
like Goans are a bit immune to the
Yes.
conditioning of mind.
And the whole point is to kind of snap you out of your normal slumber, because so our mind is conditioned. It's going down a rut, and all of a sudden you find out that you know the story has an ending that is totally unexpected or totally outrageous or something like that, and that helps snap your attention out of its rut. Yes, exactly. Very good. And if that doesn't work, they hit you with a stick. Boom. So in history, there's been times when this kind of endeavor was done at scale or more at scale, and that's where a lot of these treasures come from. Okay, sir, I'm going to have to stop today. Okay.
Yes.
Anything else before we stop?
No.
Okay. Take good care. Keep going. Keep going. Now examine all this stuff. Examine the brain. Examine this word rationalize. Think about and work again on turning the light around. I think you got more clarity today. I hope you did.
Yes.
Okay, sir? Good. Take care.